Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sam. I'm a licensed hairstylist, and here on my channel I have shared my journey becoming a hairstylist and my life and my experiences now being a hairstylist. So today I thought that we would take a stroll down memory lane and look at some photos of work that I did when I was in beauty school. I already did a part 1 of this video, which I will link up here in the cards as well as down in the description if you haven't seen it and would like to check that out. I got really good feedback when I did that video, so I thought today we do a part 2. So I'm gonna pick up from where I think we left off, if I'm remembering correctly. So I was in beauty school from early 2017 until early 2018. And if you're curious to see my journey and know a little bit more about my experience in beauty school, what school I went to, any kind of questions that you might have, I have videos addressing all of it. So I will have my cosmetology journey playlist linked in the description as well. So after you watch this video, make sure you go check out that playlist. But yeah, let's just jump right in. Actually, let me scoot over a little bit so we have room to place the photos on the screen. So this photo here, I didn't get a before picture. From what I remember and based on my caption, this client came in with pretty much like solid blonde, and she wanted more of a balayage kind of look, something a little bit more low maintenance. She wanted to go a little bit darker and just like add some dimension in her hair. So I did a reverse balayage technique on her. I just added darker color, like I did some low lights, and then I just toned the blonde pieces that I left out to make it like a more cool toned ashy blonde. What's actually funny about this client though is I remember when she came in, the fire alarm went off in the school. I was at the bowl with her and I had just applied her toner and the alarm went off and I was like, what do I do? So I just threw a processing cap on her head and we just went outside. And I remember it was really cold. When did I post this? This was November. So yeah, it was cold outside and I want to say it was like a little bit rainy that day, and I felt so bad for her because her hair was wet, she had toner on her head. We had to wait for the fire department to show up and I guess like give us the okay to go back inside. Everything was fine. And I remember my teacher being like, it's okay, you can just like put a processing cap on her because with toner it stops working after a while. And I was just doing a blonde color on her, so I wasn't worried about it like over processing and getting too dark or anything like that. But yeah, that was a funny experience. And I'm pretty happy with how this came out for the most part. You can tell that it was a really gloomy, rainy day because the lighting isn't the best, so it's a little bit hard to really see her color. I feel like it doesn't look as blended up top as I would like it to be. So if I were to redo this now, I would have dragged her root color down a little bit more just to create more of a blend. But for the most part, I feel like for beauty school work, I'm pretty proud of it. Oh my god, okay, the next photo. I have a funny story that goes along with this too, but let's just first take a look at the before photo. Whew, crazy color correction. So this client, she was a regular at our school and she was consistently going to my friend Kelly, who was like one class above me in school because she had started like 2 months before me. And I'm pretty sure this was around the time that Kelly was graduating, so she obviously wasn't going to be able to do this woman's hair at the school anymore. So she wanted to know like what other student did Kelly recommend that she should start going to. So she referred her to me, but she warned me that this client, while she's very, very nice, but she is very out there and she very openly talks about her sex life and is into like BDSM, dominant, submissive, like on some 50 Shades kind of shit. She was also an older woman that was dating a guy like half her age, and she just loved to talk about him and their relationship. So this was my first appointment with her, and she had previously been getting her hair a really bright, vibrant red, but she was ready to go back to something more natural. So you can see in this before picture, she had about 1 inch of regrowth, and she was like 90% gray in the front and up top, but she didn't really have very much gray towards the back of her head, and back there her natural color was like a very dark brown. And then she had a banding where it was kind of like a hot pink color from the faded red, and then down on her ends was like a really light faded brassy orangey kind of color. So I had a lot to tackle between the gray roots and the banding and the really bright crazy color. So I'm pretty sure I had one of my instructors help me out with this one as far as like formulating goes, because I couldn't obviously just throw one color over her entire head because we had so many different colors going on. But this was the final result of it. Her goal was to have like a natural redhead kind of color, but because of that really bright like hot pink that she had in there, I needed to go a little bit darker in order to cover that up, because I'm pretty sure we at first tried to like remove that and like lighten it out of her hair, and it just wouldn't budge. But as you can see, I was able to get rid of all the banding, and I gave her a really nice even color. So I was very proud of that. That was a project. And then I actually have another photo from our second session. After about a month or two, that color faded, and I eventually was able to give her the goal that she wanted and give her that really natural redhead, like kind of strawberry blonde color that she wanted. These next photos was of a client that just came in for a haircut, and I'm pretty sure this was my first time doing like a stacked bob on a real life person. I did have my instructor help me with this one. I do remember that because I was really nervous. Cutting was never my strong suit. I always felt a lot more confident with color. Anytime someone asked me for advice for being in beauty school, I always say, don't be afraid to ask for help. Your instructors are there for a reason. The clients that are coming in to get their hair done know it's a beauty school. They're paying ridiculously cheap prices because they're getting their hair done by students who are still learning. So there's nothing to be embarrassed about. You don't need to feel ashamed for asking for help. So I specifically remember with this haircut, having my teacher literally stand next to me the whole time. I was like, don't leave. Like, I need you here. I need you to watch me and make sure that I'm doing this correctly, because I don't want to mess this up. I said in the caption here, Joyce wanted a cut that would give her more volume and be really low maintenance / easy to style, so I gave her a stacked haircut. I do remember this client saying that she was just like a wash and go kind of person. She wanted something really easy that she didn't have to style, which is why I styled it that way, and it looks a little bit messy because I just kind of diffused it and let her just rock her natural texture. I don't even think I really put any product in it. I wanted to make sure I was styling it the way she was realistically going to have it be on a regular basis. I don't think that this is like a horrible haircut, but it definitely looks like a beauty school cut. And I definitely could have like sharpened it up, cleaned it up a little bit more, especially this picture from the back. If you like zoom in on her neckline, I definitely should have went in with my trimmers and cleaned that up. Like those hairs that are like along the sides of her neck, that just looks very sloppy and messy. And even like the V neckline that she has going on, I could have cleaned that up a little bit more. I think that when I cut her hair, it was wet, so I probably had like a really nice perfect V when her hair was wet and was all brushed down, but then when it started to dry, her hair, as you can see, has a bit of a wave to it, so it started to kind of like move around a little bit. So I should have, after her hair dried, gone in then and perfected it. That's something that I never really did when I was in beauty school. Whenever I did haircuts, I just cut it wet because that's what we were taught to do, and then that was it. Whereas now that I've taken more classes and I just have a little bit more experience, I will still cut the hair wet, but then after it's dry, I will go in and texturize it, perfect it, really like finish it up and make sure that it looks good. These next photos are of a client who she had been getting traditional foiled highlights done for a long time, and she wanted to transition to more of a balayage, have something that was going to be a little bit more low maintenance, and she really needed her ends brightened up too, because if you look at the before picture, she has a lot of brightness like up top and in the mid strand area, but then her ends looked pretty dark and dull. So I don't remember like exactly what my technique was, but I think I just went through and I just did like some balayage panels, and then added some low lights in between. And I think that the color came out pretty good. Again, it could be a little bit more blended up top. I clearly hadn't perfected my blending yet. I didn't know about like teasing the hair and doing like little teeny tiny baby lights. Speaking of which, I wanted to let you guys know, if you are a hairstylist or aspiring stylist, I have online courses that are now available. I have 3 currently up at the moment. One is how to do a really thorough consultation. Another one is how I do a nice subtle natural sun-kissed balayage. And then the third one is how to do a foliage application on really dark hair. They're very detailed, thorough tutorials, and once you purchase a course, you have unlimited access to it. You can watch it as many times as you want, forever. So I'll have a link in the description to those courses if you're interested. This next client, I did not get a before picture of, unfortunately, but from what I said in the caption, she had at least 2 inches of grown out roots that were probably a level 4 mixed with gray. And her hair was extremely thick and coarse. This was probably the thickest and coarsest hair that I had ever worked on. Maybe ever, but especially up until this point. And it's hard to tell from the photo. Her hair in the picture doesn't really look like it's that coarse, but I do remember in real life it was. This was a client who was, again, another regular at our school, had been coming there for years. This was a bit of a challenge, especially because she had a lot of roots. So I wanted to make sure, of course, that she didn't have any banding. I wanted everything to be really nice and even. And she said that she just wanted to do something really funky and edgy and different. So we came up with this kind of cut where I just clippered her all around and then left the top really long and kind of like slicked back. And then I cut it to like a V point in the back. And I actually really like how the cut came out. This was my first time ever doing something like that. I really didn't know what I was doing, but she was very easygoing and laid back, and I just felt really comfortable just experimenting. I think that if I were to do it now, it probably could have came out a little bit cleaner, but again, this was my first time doing anything like that, and I think considering it looks pretty good. This next client, she apparently is a very popular girl in the town that my school was in, because after I did her hair, I had so many girls requesting me because they saw I had did her hair. So she wanted to cut a few inches off, and she wanted something that was going to be brighter and more blended, and she also wanted a darker root. So this was the after photo, and I was really happy with the result, and I remember that she was very happy with it. She immediately was taking selfies in her car, and like I said, she ended up referring a lot of other girls to me. Another thing I always tell people too when they're in beauty school is really make connections with your clients and have an Instagram page specifically for your hair work from the start, and take before and after photos of all of the work that you're doing and let your client know that you have an Instagram page. And what I always did too was when I would take their after photos, I would get their Instagram handle. I'd be like, oh hey, let me look you up so that I can tag you in the photos and send them to you if you'd like. And so I would pull them up and I would follow them, and they would immediately follow me back, so that way we had a connection and like they had my contact info, and then that way they were more likely to repost the after photos of their hair and then tag me, so then their followers knew where they got their hair done and they could reach out to me and follow me and see my work as well. And that worked out really well for me. If you're still in beauty school or you're thinking about going to beauty school, keep that in mind. Ooh, this next one I think is probably my favorite work, hands down, that I did in beauty school the entire time I was there. So this client came in and she had this grown out kind of a balayage, kind of an ombre, I don't know. It was not very well blended. It was very solid on the ends, very brassy. She wanted something that was more blended and had more dimension all throughout. So I did a balayage on her. I brought the lighter pieces up higher, and then I also went through and added some low lights to kind of break it up and create more dimension. And then I toned her to a more ashy color to get rid of that brassiness. She was another client, if I remember correctly, who was also apparently very popular in the area because a lot of people ended up getting referred from her as well. But yeah, I'm really proud of this. I feel like it came out very beautiful. I think this actually looks like really blended too. I feel like at this point I was definitely getting better with that. Oh, okay, so this client, I remember when she came in, I think this is like the first YouTube viewer that I ever met in real life. And I remember she had booked an appointment with me and she came in and she told me that she had been watching me on YouTube for years, like since I was in college. And it was just so cool. It was so nice to meet her and talk to her. So she just had some old grown out color and she just wanted to bring it up higher and go lighter. So I did like a balayage technique on her. This isn't my favorite, to be honest. There's a little bit of banding still going on from like the old color that was underneath. And again, the haircut, I definitely should have texturized her ends because her hair naturally is very thick. And to me, this just looks a little bit choppy. This next client, she had really beautiful thick hair naturally. She had some old color on the ends that was grown out, as you can see from the before picture. And she wanted like a caramel balayage. So this was the after photo. I feel like it's nicely blended. The actual placement itself looks nice, but the color looks pretty uneven, and you can see on the ends where she had like that old artificial color, it still looks very red and it's still darker, whereas up top where it was her natural color, the highlights came out brighter and lighter. So I feel like I should have toned her down a little bit darker to compensate for the ends not coming out as light as the rest of it. So yeah, this is another one that it's not horrible, but it's not great. I feel like this definitely just looks like beauty school work. This client actually went to high school with me, and it's so sweet that she came in to get her hair done. But as you can see from the before picture, there was a lot going on. She had artificial like box dye that she had done at home, and it had faded to like a really weird pinkish kind of color. And I didn't get the best before photo. This is very close up, so you can't really tell, but there was a lot going on, and her goal was to be like a really light, bright blonde. And I was like, I don't know if that's gonna be able to happen today, because her hair also is very, very fine and fragile naturally. So I'm pretty sure I had did like a color removing treatment, and then I did like a bleach wash, and I tried really hard to like get rid of that pink as best as I could. And then I went through and I think I did some foiled highlights and toned it. And I was able to get her decently light. I was able to definitely get rid of all the pink, which was amazing. So she ended up being more of this like dark, medium kind of blonde. This next photo was actually the first time, I'm pretty sure, the first time that I ever did Asian hair. Which, if you don't know, Asian hair is some of the coarsest, thickest hair naturally. It has the most cuticle layers, and it's naturally just very, very dark as well. So it can be tricky to lighten. At this point now I know how to work with it and how to get as much lift as possible in one session, but at the time, like I said, this was my first time. So I was a little intimidated. All she wanted was a balayage. She didn't want anything too light or bright anyway. She wanted just kind of like a light brown color. So yeah, this was the final result of her hair. I was very happy with how it came out. And you can see I did a little bit of a money piece on her. I was just learning how to do that at the time, which if you guys want to learn how to do that, like I said, I have my online courses, and in my foliage course, I show you how I do my money pieces now. And for the last photo, we're ending on a good one. This is actually my friend Veronica. Hey V. She was actually one of my classmates. We met in beauty school, and she's one of my good friends to this day. So as you can see, she had a bright red, and her natural color is a very dark brown. So another one of our classmates had did her hair, but the way she applied the color, she ended up creating bands in her hair. And so what happens is, whenever you're trying to lighten the hair, you always want to do the root area last, because the roots are always going to lighten up the fastest because they're right by the scalp. the scalp gives off heat, and the heat is going to speed up the processing time. So I think what happened was they ended up just putting the red like all over her head, and so she ended up with a band. So she wanted to touch up her roots, get rid of the band, but then also just go a much brighter and more vibrant, like fire engine red. So I ended up doing a few different formulas for this process because, like I had said earlier, if you have an uneven canvas, you can't just slap on the same formula all over because then you're gonna have an uneven result. So I ended up lightening her entire head, but I ended up using different volume developers on each band of her hair so that everything would lighten evenly. And then from there, I put a red direct deposit on top of it. And I'm pretty sure we did Pravana red, and I might have mixed in something else, like a little bit of an orange color maybe. I don't remember exactly, but all I know for sure is that it was definitely Pravana because that was what we had at my school as far as like direct deposit dyes go. But as you can see, the end result was beautiful. I was so proud of this, and as you can see, there were no more bands in her hair at all whatsoever. Even now looking back, like I am pretty impressed. But yeah, that was it. Shortly after that, I graduated. I graduated February 13th, 2018, so the day before Valentine's Day. And then Valentine's Day was my first day working as a full-time stylist in a salon. So I did skip over a couple photos just because some of them are really repetitive, a lot of just like blonde highlights. I just want this to be a reminder to any of you guys who are currently in beauty school or just maybe a newer stylist and you still feel like you're maybe struggling with a few things. We all start somewhere, and honestly when I started beauty school I already had a good amount of knowledge under my belt because I actually have started beauty school a little bit later in life anyway, and I had been teaching myself and doing a lot of online research and just like practicing on my own hair and on friends and family long before I ever went to beauty school. So I feel like I had a little bit of an advantage, at least as far as color goes. So, you know, don't compare your work to mine or to anyone else's. And don't compare your progress to anyone else. We all start somewhere and we all grow and get better in time with practice, experience, and education. But I do think that it's really cool to be able to look back every once in a while and just kind of see like how far you've come, how much you've grown and improved. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video and found it entertaining. Like I said, don't forget to check out the description for a link to my cosmetology journey playlist if you're interested in that, as well as the link to my online courses. But that's gonna be it for me today. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video. Bye.